This is a committee meeting for the Transportation Committee. Today is Monday, August 22nd. Our first item of business today is consideration of the meeting minutes from the August 8th meeting. No additions or corrections. We'll consider approval of those.
Move approval of the August 8th minutes.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. Next item on the agenda is application from the Birmingham Regional Paratransit Consortium, aka ClassTran. Owners Sherry Spencer and Detective Pitts is on vacation, so he's not going to be with us today. However, he did communicate that they had met all of the requirements for permitting. Is Ms. Spencer with us today? Yes. Okay. Can you approach the podium there and just tell us a little bit about why you're here today?
My name is Richard Abel. I'm the operations manager for ClassTran. We're applying for a PSC since we took over the purchase transportation of we brought it in-house. That's why we need this certificate.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for that information. We haven't seen you guys before this committee before, so the way it was operated previously was that ClassTran hired other contractors?
Right.
Okay. All right. All right, that's interesting because ClassTran's essentially the public transportation option for most of Jefferson County, right?
Correct, and Shelby County.
Yes, all right. Committee members have any questions?
I think we're good on this one. I move approval or move to recommend this to the full council.
Second motion.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you, and this will be before the full council within 1 to 2 weeks.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. All right. Next up, we have the AlDOT roadway lighting maintenance agreement. This is the agreement that we had some questions about previously, and it's coming back before us. Mr. Alexander.
Good afternoon. I'm Colin Alexander, planner with the Birmingham Department of Transportation. This agreement did come before you a couple months ago. Just to review and go over, this is a standard maintenance agreement between the city and AlDOT. It's very similar to the agreement we have to maintain the traffic signals that are on AlDOT right-of-ways. This came about because we have an agreement with Alabama Power to maintain and replace lighting on all of our roadways. And when that agreement was put into place, we communicated with the AlDOT regional office, and they were just like, let's go ahead and start doing AlDOT roadways as part of that. The state policy changed when AlDOT started getting other requests from other communities, and they developed a state policy where you had to have this maintenance agreement in order to continue to operate on their right-of-way. So the Alabama Power project came to a halt, and we were unable to complete the rest of it until we got this agreement finalized.
Okay.
And this is not for interstate lighting, this is only for highways. So like US 31, US 280, Alabama 79, etc. There was some question about roadway designations, so we added the US designation to any federal highway in addition to the Alabama designation, which can sometimes be a little confusing.
Right. Okay, so this is would just address the overhead lighting, the white lights.
Correct.
All right. And just for clarification, there's conversation in progress regarding other roadways or?
So the Alabama Power agreement is for them to maintain and replace lighting across all the roads in the city as
Okay.
needed. This is specifically an agreement for ALDOT right-of-way.
Okay.
So we'd already started some of this work with an understanding from the ALDOT region office, and the ALDOT state policy changed, which is why we have to come back and get this agreement done in order to complete that work.
All right. Committee have any questions?
All right, yeah, so trying to keep this straight, is this the same agreement that we talked about, I don't know, 5 months or so back? And, because it looks like some of the roads have changed or or are these the same roads that were
These
originally?
are the same roads. What we did is we clarified, so every ALDOT right-of-way has an Alabama state designation. But if it's a federal highway, there's also a U.S. designation, which is what most of us typically understand, like US 31 also has an AL designation that's a different number. So what we did is we came back and we clarified, for clarity purpose, that this is the US route that's being worked on. So it didn't change which roads are being, or that we're working on an agreement for. It's still all of the ALDOT right-of-way within the city.
Okay, so this will address, basically, like on some of these ALDOT roads, kind of get us out of the situation on the interstate and get us more to a
So this
maintained and lit area?
This is just for the ALDOT highways, yes. So this is not including interstates.
No, I'm saying,
But, yeah.
but say 75 and 79, we'll basically be lit, and if there's a problem, Alabama Power will go out and correct it.
That's exactly right. And so what this will do is basically, since we had the agreement with Alabama Power, if there's a problem, it can come to us, we go to Alabama Power, we get it done. We don't have to go through ALDOT in order to get on their right of way to maintain it. And it's not out of our field of vision. So, we have that agreement with Alabama Power. So rather than Alabama Power having one with ALDOT, in which we don't really know what's going on, we have control of the conversation, but we have this agreement to go on to ALDOT right away.
Good work. Sign me up.
Yeah. Yeah, if you ask somebody about Alabama 38, they wouldn't have any idea what you were talking about.
The one thing I will point out to, though, I know there's some question about this, Exhibit O in your package, which is a certification with ALDOT, just stating that we're not going to be going to ALDOT for money for these projects because we have this agreement with Alabama Power. So as in exchange for us being allowed to go onto their right of way and do this work, we're not going to be charging ALDOT for that work.
Okay. Got it. All right. How would the committee like to proceed?
I'd like to see if the Chief of Operations has any feedback. I think this is a good agreement to move forward with. I think he's indicated that he's in favor. I move that we recommend this to the full council.
I second the recommendation.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. That motion passes. Skipped over item 4, so I want to come back to that. For a while now, several weeks in a row, we announced that we're taking applications for vacancies on the Birmingham Parking Authority board. We interviewed folks who applied for those positions, and so today we're bringing forward a candidate that interviewed for a position that's expiring in October. His resume is included in the packet, and again, the committee interviewed that individual. So the committee would need to, at this point, take action to advance that recommendation to the full council.
You say you're skipping 4, or you want to deal with it?
We're coming back to it. Number 4,
Okay.
the BPA board appointment.
Oh, we already skipped it. I got you. Yeah, this time I move we recommend Jeff Habercroft to the full council.
I second the nomination.
All right. So moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. Okay. Item number 6, Mr. Alexander is going to come back and talk to us about rail crossing elimination grant. Mr. Alexander.
All right, so this before you is a resolution. It's also going to go before Budget and Finance this afternoon. But since it's a transportation project, we wanted to bring it before the Transportation Committee. This is a resolution for the city to commit to allocating $250,000 on a $10 million federal grant under the Railroad Crossing Elimination Program. This is a new program that was part of the bipartisan infrastructure bill. The project that we're looking for, this is essentially a pre-construction. I think officially it's a planning grant, but it's a little further along than just planning. And what we're looking at is it's a partnership between the City of Birmingham, Norfolk Southern, and the City of Trussville. We're looking on the eastern side of the city from Woodlawn to Mary Taylor Road, which is actually a Birmingham crossing that connects parts of Trussville. The plan is going to calls for the elimination of several crossings. We're going to look into eliminating the 2 crossings at Harris Homes and building a tunnel underneath in order to provide access to Harris Homes, which is a HABD community that has been isolated with one way in and one way out by trains that sometimes block the community in for days at a time. We're also going to be closing all the crossings between 55th Street and Brussels Avenue, which will help to create a quiet zone create a quiet zone in the Woodlawn community, which will open up federal affordable housing tax credits that currently do not qualify for because of the noise issues. There will be some track work around Norris Yards, which is in Irondale, in order to add a little bit of capacity. And then we're going to be building a bridge at Mary Taylor Road over the railroad to eliminate that crossing.
Yeah, so just additional background information. So I represent part of this territory that's covered with this proposal. And so this program is a multi-year program, and this would be the initial planning stage, I guess, generally stated, of this. And so typically these federal grants are 80-20.
That is correct. So, and this is part of the partnership that we are, it's a really good opportunity for us. So we're going after a large portion. It is a big project. Norfolk Southern this is part of their national priority, so they have come to the table. They've provided a lot of the insight in terms of what solutions could happen. They're putting $1.5 million towards the grant. The City of Trussville is putting $250,000 toward the grant, and then with our $250,000, that gets us to the $2 million grant match that we would need for this stage of the process.
All right. So if we get the grant application and if we get subsequent years of additional funding for a full-scale project, then we can construct a tunnel and build a bridge.
Right. This is all part of we've worked very closely with Norfolk Southern. We're fairly confident that this is the best solution to these 2 areas, and it's a big project. It's going to be a big undertaking, and that's why it requires such a big planning study in order to go after it.
I'd just say too that so blocked railroad crossings are an issue across the entire city of Birmingham, and part of what Norfolk Southern is trying to accomplish with this project is creating clear rail around Norris Yard so that they can bring trains closer into the yard and not have to park them on the west side of town in particular. So it's probably not a silver bullet for addressing the block train crossings in the western areas, but the thought is that it would help. Again, you know, this is the full scale of the project would likely be in the realm of $150 million.
Correct.
And take several years to complete. This is just the initial steps to put the first pieces of that together.
Yeah, like I said, I'm excited to see like some actual game plan movement on some of these issues, because like I said, it's been a problem for a long time. You know, I know I would be upset if I couldn't get in or out of my neighborhood when I wanted to, and so I'm glad to see some movement on that. Appreciate Mr. Chairman and really taking the lead on pushing that, and glad to see some movement, but it sounds like we still have a ways to go. Press on.
I agree with Council Woods. Kind of reminds me of what the late Maxine Herring Parker
Yes, ma'am.
accomplished during her tenure with the council, where the people in Collegeville that was being blocked in by trains. So this is a great effort and really good, you know, for the people that are living in these communities, especially when it comes to safety and those that have health issues. So glad to see that this has, you know, come into fruition.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Additionally, just as an aside, Councilor Moore and I are partnering with Woodlawn United to do some initial community engagement. A few years ago, Regional Planning Commission had, as part of a larger study, looked at this issue, and so Woodlawn United has commissioned that with support from my office and Councilor Moore's office. We've asked that engineer to come back to the city of Birmingham and do community engagement, just to fill residents in on what's being proposed and get some initial feedback in support of this proposal. So just wanted to let you know that. How would the committee like to proceed?
I make a motion that we recommend this to go to the full council for a vote.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. That motion passes.
Thank you.
On to old and new business. We have Christina Argo with us, who's going to give us an update on the Birmingham On Demand project.
Good afternoon. Christina Argo with BDOT, Strategic Projects and Innovation. So what I thought I'd do today is go over our numbers from previous month's service and then talk to you guys a little bit about where we are in the process of securing future services. Does everybody have the presentation?
Yes.
So we are such a success story that they have featured Birmingham as a case study. So I assume they share this with other cities, but this first page shows a snapshot of what our service has looked like since we have been running it for almost 3 years now. Quote from our Councilor O'Quinn here. So it is something that is extremely convenient and affordable and helps bridge a gap for folks. All right. Do you have any questions about that page? we'll go to the next page if you guys are good with that. So another great story to tell. We're continuing to gain momentum with service. So in addition to the success we had with the World Games, we're still holding steady with rides and active riders. We're increasing new user ridership, so we were up 23% with new users. So that speaks to, you know, somebody who's taking their first ride. We don't know how many rides they took, but we just know we have 23% of users who are new. And 79% of survey respondents would be very disappointed if we could no longer use the service. Rider ratings still hang out at 4.9, which I think is pretty great. And you can't beat an 8.4 minute average ETA. I don't ever get that with Uber or Lyft, that's for sure.
Or do we have any indication as to how the new user ridership is trending in early August?
I don't have any early August numbers.
Because that over 20% growth is a huge jump.
It is.
And as we know, there wasn't a tremendous influx of new folks in town for the World Games, so it's interesting that happened.
So the next committee meeting is, what's the date? I was wondering if I could have August 12th. Yeah, I could come back with August numbers for September 12th. So we'll see how we look. Does that sound good?
Yep.
Okay. The next page is our top destinations. You know, this hasn't really changed a whole lot over the course of our service. Grocery stores, shopping, medical, and then connection to the intermodal facility for additional transportation services.
Yeah, I think it's especially notable that the intermodal facility, even from the start of Birmingham on Demand, has continued to be a top destination point. You know, clearly these are folks who, you know, don't have access to other means of transportation. They were relying on public transit, and they got places to go that are, you know, outside of the service area. So I think that's an important point.
I do too, and it speaks to the fact that there's definitely some opportunity when you lay in microtransit with traditional public transportation, so how they can work together.
Okay.
Alrighty, and then the next page, we're looking at household income. So 77% of riders have an annual household income below $50,000. And then this pie chart just kind of shows how that breaks out. 53% of riders use the service for commuting or education, which I think is huge. So not just for you know, running errands and accessing other services, but working and school education. And then that hits the highlights for us. Do you guys have any questions?
So last January, so January 2022 or January of 2021, there were 60% of riders with a household income below $50,000.
2021.
2021, okay. Interesting that has increased so dramatically.
Is that just the awareness thing, you think?
That's what I was saying. I feel like maybe the word is spreading about what a great service it is, because I can't think of any other anomalies out there. I mean, we've kind of held steady with the marketing activity, and so I'm not sure what we could attribute that to. I mean, it's a good thing, though, right?
I think so. Has there been any conversation around the expansion piece of this?
So I'll get into that. So basically, Alabama state bid law requires us to go out to bid after 3 years of operation with a certain vendor. So the bid is out there. It's publicized. It's on our website. It's been publicized in the newspaper or online, whatever that is these days. And so questions are due September 1st. Proposals are due September 8th. And we will be opening proposals on September 9th. So that just allows us to continue our operations with whatever vendor we end up picking. I'm sure VIA will apply. And then once we get that squared away, that's when we begin talks of the expansion and what that looks like. So we're just a couple weeks away from that.
So you're rebidding the same scope, and then once you kind of have that, you'll look at expansion. Okay. All right. Are there any other questions on this topic? Because I also have some new business.
So basically, the bid is very similar to the last bid, except we're not calling it a pilot anymore. It's a program, and
that's progress.
Yep. So,
Christina, what would be the expansion?
Well, so we're going to look at ways that we can work in tandem with fixed route transportation, BJCTA. And whether that is shifting coverage to certain areas and having it feed into certain lines that they operate. There's been a lot of preliminary work done so far that we just need to review, and a lot of that I kind of feel like we have all these pieces coming together at the same time, right? So BRT is launching mid to late September. That will inform some changes to BJCTA's other fixed routes. And then, so you've got that change, and then we've got, microtransit still around and funded, and we really want to, in order to expand services, we're going to have to look at how those other lines are working and how we can work together, how those things can work together. So.
Would you say you're looking north, south, east, or west?
Oh, gosh.
If there was a directional element.
So here's something to think about. So the way our transit system works now is a hub and spoke system, right? Mm-hmm. Everything has to run through Central Station downtown, which is not always effective and is not always gives us the most, the quickest ways to get places. So I'm hoping that with the introduction of the BRT, and with us being able to take a deeper dive look on how microtransit feeds into fixed route, we will be able to complement those services and get people places quicker and more reliably. So,
thank you.
You're welcome.
So, I don't know. This is a suggestion and a question maybe, but as you guys are looking to integrate Birmingham On Demand into other public transit, I would suggest that there be consideration of maybe a two-tiered pricing structure. So currently Birmingham On Demand is $1.50 wherever you want to go in the service area. I'm in favor of an expansion no matter what it looks like. I think folks really want to see that happen, and I'm going to read you a letter here in just a second along those lines. But when you're trying to integrate what is basically a point-to-point service into an existing service that contains, primarily fixed bus routes, It's going to be tricky, I think, to get folks to use both. And so I would suggest that, there be consideration of at least a two-tiered structure where if I want to connect to BJCTA, I want to go to Central Station, and so that I can get on a bus route that goes out to, the summit. But, that would be one option. But if I wanted to, say, take Birmingham on Demand that took me directly from my departure location directly to the summit, that would be a different pricing structure,
It's a different level.
Significantly more.
Yeah, it's a different level of service, right?
Right, absolutely. But, we don't want to discourage folks from utilizing, the fixed routes, but that at the same time, point-to-point service is going to be more costly than those fixed route services, just because the ridership is higher on the fixed route per trip. So, I don't know if that was something that was included in the bid package, or can be discussed at some point otherwise. But I think there's some desire on the BJCTA side of the conversation for microtransit to kind of feed into the fixed route system, which it can absolutely do. But you can't have, in my mind, you can't have a service area expansion for Birmingham on Demand and existing fixed route and keep them both at the same price.
Right.
The microtransit, a point-to-point service is just, going to have to be a premium price. Something that's still affordable, but it's going to be significantly higher than the $1.50. So I would encourage, you guys to kind of look at that. I know the model that was proposed by consultants under previous, leadership at BJCTA, I don't think that works. That's just my honest opinion. And, I don't think it works in the absence of a two-tiered pricing structure and expansion of the service area. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. So I got a letter from Miss Louise Ellsbury, who lives at New Pilgrim Towers. The New Pilgrim Towers is one of our senior living facilities over in the, I guess technically it's in the South Side neighborhood, but it's really close to Lakeview and Forest Park, South Avondale. There are, I think, 123 units in that building. Pretty much everybody in there is, I would say that the vast majority of folks are there on a voucher. And currently, Birmingham On Demand only goes to the Workforce Training Center over in the South Side area, again, close to South Avondale, but that's as far as east as it goes. And that is located on, I believe, 6th Avenue. and about 33rd Street. So 3416 7th Avenue South is very close. And Ms. Ellsbury sent a letter, says, Mayor Randall Woodfin and City Council persons, I called your office today asking how will the 2020 census be handled for places like New Pilgrim Towers and other senior citizen places. Also, people living in rehab facilities. Some are still in sound mind and would like to be counted. I guess nobody at City Hall could tell me anything, and the person that was supposed to be able to tell me the telephone number was not working, at least the operator from the phone company stated. She says, I would love to ride places. I need to go for $1.50 per trip. He says that the only public transit that she has access to, she would have to walk to Claremont Avenue. And walking down the hill to the north from her is literally down the hill. So for, I believe Miss Ellsbury's in her 70s, steep hill, she's not doing that. She's also asking for some place to sit at the bus stop that's located in front of the building. So in essence, you know, she's wanting to have Birmingham On Demand serve New Pilgrim Towers. And this all kind of started because she actually received a summons for jury duty. And she's, you know, retired, but she's still an engaged citizen. She wants to serve her community, but because she doesn't have direct access to transportation, she's got a challenge in terms of, you know, showing up for jury duty. And long story short, she had to call the courthouse and tell them, you know, look, I'd like to serve, but I don't have any way of getting there. So I think they, you know, relieved her of that obligation. But anyway, this is just one small example of the need in our community. And, you know, given that Birmingham On Demand passes so close to this location, it would be a good place to consider for a micro expansion.
Duly noted. I've written down the details, so thank you for sharing that.
Yep, no problem. All right, so is there any other new business that we need to consider?
Yes, but I did want to piggyback on what you were talking about as far as the tiered system. Like I wonder, I almost kind of see like say the app that you use to book your ride. Like if you wanted to go, say, the Summit, you could put in that address and it could give you the options you have. Like, so you can go straight there for this much, or you can go to the transit intermodal facility and get this bus and get there, and just give you cost and time. That could be something that.
Pretty sure VIA has that technology already, as well as other companies. So it's not something they would have to invent. So yeah, it could be an easy thing for us to explore.
Yeah, because that could let them expand further, easier, with not having to increase the subsidized piece. Because you got, can I say east and west? There's a western new facility and an eastern new kind of BRT facility where, you know, you could ride to that facility, so they can give you the ability to reach further. What's another word for east? Chaz don't like me to say east. Further east or further west. So just a thought there. And did have another thing I wanted to run by DOT piece. And so the Kilo Springs neighborhood got approved for a lot of speed cushions. And so the great administration saw fit to allow us to include some funding in the budget this year for traffic safety, and some of that was matching funds. Wanted to just get some feedback on if we would be able to provide matching funds to that neighborhood for some of their speed cushion approval. Like I said, they got about 12 approved, and they're very excited, very appreciative of the process. They kind of went through, it was a long process, so they're happy to kind of get to this next step, but wanted to look at, because we're going to help them, but like I said, I know we had that substantial funding in the budget this year for just this purpose, and very thankful to the administration, but just want to see if we could tap into that.
Sure.
Kilo Springs neighborhood.
So we are currently in the process of identifying, so just like we did last year with the original funding that was allocated in the budget, we identified streets that we thought we should partner with based off of the severity of the cases. So we are currently in the process of beginning that right now by identifying where are the next ones that we feel we can partner with. So we can definitely start looking at some of the ones in Kilo Springs and factor those in and see. I'm not going to guarantee anything right now just because we are in the middle of that process, but we'll definitely take that under consideration.
Give me a percentage of probability.
I'll remind you, I'm not leading traffic calming anymore.
Fair enough.
But
fair
no,
enough.
we'll definitely take that under advisement, and because that is understanding council priority is also part of that process.
And if it makes any difference, this is actually in District 4. We split this neighborhood, so I don't know if that makes a difference or not. Okay, and then the Westchester, Westchester.
Yeah, let's
speed cushion there.
Yeah, let's talk offline, and we can look at some of those specifics.
Okay, yeah, I did.
Absolutely.
But, just remember the Westchester when you're.
I got an email about UW Clemens speeding. Yes, Westchester. And then Smithfield Estates, Castleberry Way, Smithfield Estates.
Castleberry Way, and then we've got those identified. I need to reach out through Government Affairs and get a contact for UW Clemens because we haven't gotten a request formally from that neighborhood, though I'm aware of it. So yeah, we'll get together and figure that out.
Thank you.
But yeah, I do want to say, like I said, we initially kind of pushed for this funding to get into the budget. It was for like speed cushions and whatnot, so we don't want to get too far. Definitely respect the process, but don't want to get too far away from original intent. Absolutely,
and we just need to, like we did last year, we need to take some time and look at the budget that's allocated and look at our lists and prioritize. So we're going through that process right now.
All right, thank you. Definitely want to thank the chairman continuously bringing so many bright minds together in one committee meeting, and the level of productivity that we enjoy here in the Transportation Committee is really special. Happy to be a part of it, and just continue the great work.
Okay. While we're bringing out our list, so there was recently traffic I hate calling them accidents. There was a car crash at 56th Street and Crestwood Boulevard recently that reignited conversations that have been happening over the years about safety on Crestwood Boulevard, particularly at that intersection. So I reached out to DeJarvis Leonard at ALDOT this morning and provided him with the SANE engineering study, and he told me that he would have someone, look at that. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. Okay. That there have been several fatalities there over, the past few years.
Okay, no, that's good to know. That intersection and that whole stretch of 56th from the railroads up to 10th Avenue is captured in our traffic calming list, and we're using the St. Apple study as a guide for some of those decisions. A lot of those are heavy infrastructure investments, and that gets more complicated. Really begins to fall out of the realm of our what we can do with our traffic calming program. But it has been in design. We need to work out some of the details with the fire department to make sure that they're comfortable with how some of that design works, but it's duly noted.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Would that be something that potentially could be benefited from change in behavior through automated traffic enforcement? just something to talk about. There may be some other tools in the toolbox in the future, so just throw that possibility out. But thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would, and I think that's a conversation that we need to have with our Jefferson County legislative delegation. So, and encourage your constituents to have that same conversation, because apparently some of them need to feel some of the heat that that we feel when these issues come up. So
yeah. Yep, accidents are a regular occurrence on some of these roads, but great meeting once again.
Yeah, I mean, this is politics and not transportation, but anyway, some of these Jefferson County legislators don't represent,
Let us
parts of,
we'll do that later.
the same constituency, yet they control our destiny when it comes to these issues. So I am emphatically encouraging my constituents who are regularly in my ear on some of these issues to reach out to leadership specifically of the county delegation.
I think we could all take a page out of that playbook. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we'll consider a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.